The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Aging Horizons. Today we have an awesome guest with us. We'll be talking about property tax and some of the changes in 2026. We're also going to be talking about property tax assistance program. We have so much more for you. Stay tuned and we will be right back.
Hey caregivers, did you know that respite time is your time? How will you spend it?
There's so much I want to do, like researching family history.
Sandra Gaskin, Bozeman.
And this time of year, there's never enough time to keep up with my garden. But what I really love to do with my respite time is to work on my latest quilting project.
Montana Lifespan Respite. Respite for caregivers. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. It's okay to get it.
It's so fulfilling when all the pieces come together.
45 years, 2 packs a day. It's like $80,000. I thought I was just hurting myself until I fell asleep in a chair with a cigarette. The whole house went up. I lost it all. I knew smoking was expensive, but I never thought it would cost me everything.
You mean I can get help paying my prescription drug premiums?
Let me get this straight. I could be eligible for help with my family's prescription premiums even though I own my own home?
And our assets won't be counted.
If you're a Montana resident enrolled in the Medicare prescription drug program, you could be eligible for help paying your premiums. Call or visit the Big Sky RX website today to find out, even if you think you're over income.
What do you know about that? I'm eligible.
We get it. Life happens. We're Energy Share, a nonprofit that helps Montanans overcome energy emergencies. With statewide support from energy companies and individuals, we've helped over 70,000 families across Montana. No matter your situation, we'll help you keep your heat on. Learn more at EnergyShareMT.com.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Aging Horizons. This is a program brought to you by the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm your host, Wilmot Collins. And today we have our guest, and we're going to be talking about property tax assistance program, property tax, the changes in 2026. Our guest today is Bryce Katz. He's the Bureau Chief for the Montana Department of Revenue, Property Tax Division. Welcome to the show, Bryce.
Thank you.
So let's get right into it because I'm sure our guests, they're excited about what's going on in property tax and all of that. I know we're talking about some of the changes that's coming up in 2026, the reduced rates, the principal residence or long-term rental. Tell us about what's going on in 2026.
Sure. So yeah, the 25 legislature made some pretty substantial changes to the property tax system, which began in 2025, but really pick up again in 2026. And they implemented some reduced tax rates for properties that are used as a principal residence or a long-term rental property. So before, all residential property was taxed at the same rate. Now they've implemented a tiered rate structure where if your property is a principal residence or a long-term rental, it qualifies for some lower rates on the lower portions of value and then goes through a tiered system. So to be eligible for that, there's what's called the homestead for a principal residence. Okay. And to qualify for a principal residence, you have to own the property in either your individual name or in a grantor or revocable trust, and you have to reside in that property for at least 7 months of the year as your principal residence.
Okay. So how, if I wanted to, how do I apply? What's the process? What's the timeline?
Sure. So the nice thing is if you claimed a property tax rebate last year and you still own that property and reside in it as your principal residence, you were auto-enrolled to receive the homestead reduced rate for the 2026 tax year. So if you claimed the rebate, property tax rebate last year for your 2024 property taxes, you should be auto-enrolled and you don't have to apply.
What if you forgot and you missed it?
Yeah, so if you forgot or you've recently purchased a new principal residence and you want to apply, the application window is open currently. The enrollment period began December 1st and it runs through March 1st.
Okay.
So you have until March 1st to submit an application to get enrolled for those reduced rates for a principal residence. You can go to our website, homestead.mt.gov. You can apply online there. You can download the paper form as well if you prefer doing things by paper.
Yeah.
And then long-term rental properties also have until March 1st to apply. And to qualify as a long-term rental property, the property has to be rented to a tenant as their residence for periods of 28 days or longer for at least 7 months of the year.
So what are the new tax rates?
Sure, so they implemented a tiered tax rate structure that provides a lower rate for lower portions of value and then scales up as it goes. So the first $378,000 in value for 2026, so that's the statewide median value of residential property, is taxed at 0.76%. The next $378,000 in market value would be taxed at 0.9%. And then the next $756,000 is taxed at 1.1%, and then any portion of value taxed or in excess of $1,512,000 is taxed at 1.9% for a qualifying property. And if the property doesn't qualify, then the entire property value is taxed at 1.9%. So it gives you a pretty substantial rate reduction on a principal residence and long-term rental. The same rates for a single-family long-term rental property, but if it's a multifamily long-term rental property, it's just taxed at a flat 1.1% tax rate.
Okay, so let me get it clear because I know my audience now, they're getting a little confused. So it's not the balance of the loan, it's the value of the home.
Correct. It's the assessed value of the property that we, as the Department of Revenue Property Assessment Division, place on that property. And we're on a 2-year reappraisal cycle. So every 2 years, we reappraise all property. And then that's what those rates apply to, is our appraised value of that property for property tax purposes.
Yeah, because this is really important because I know some of my listeners are saying, oh, I want to owe $50,000 on a house, you know, and so why they don't, but it's the assessed value of the home.
Correct.
That they have to be looking out for.
Correct.
That's awesome. So who qualifies?
So again, for the long-term, or for the homestead, for a principal residence, if you own that property in your individual name or a grantor revocable trust, and you reside in that property for at least 7 months of the year as your principal residence, then you're eligible to apply and get these reduced rates. If your property is owned in a LLC or an irrevocable trust, then you're not eligible. But as long as you own your property individually and reside in it for at least 7 months of the year, you're eligible to claim that reduction.
So what about the long-term rental?
So the long-term rental property, again, it has to be rented to a tenant as their residence for periods of 28 days or longer for at least 7 months of the year.
And then they're qualified also?
And then, yep, if they submit an application and meet all those requirements, they would be eligible to receive the reduced rates as well.
How difficult it is to fill out the forms?
It's pretty straightforward application. Again, you can apply either electronically from our website, or you can get the paper application from our website. You basically just need to provide some basic information, attest that you're using the property or meet those eligibility requirements, and then you should be good to go.
Oh, wow. Hey, Bryce, thanks. Hey, you need to stay tuned, and we will be right back with Bryce Katz. He's been giving us some valuable information. Stay tuned.
When I found out it was diabetes, my first thought was, Barb, you need help. You have to take control of this. There is help. My doctor gave me a phone number. I called and signed up with a diabetes educator. There is help. I have to put blinders on when I walk past the bakery counter. I can feel my blood sugar go up. You succeed a little at a time. If you have diabetes, help is available. You do not have to do it alone.
Ask your doctor about diabetes education or visit montana211.org.
Hey, caregivers, did you know that respite time is your time? How will you spend it?
20-year-old twins with special needs takes a lot of wrangling. So sometimes a trip to the grocery store without having to worry about the boys can feel like a mini vacation.
Tori Allard, Billings.
We also own a DJ company, and there's always something going on there that needs attention.
Montana Lifespan Respite. Respite for caregivers. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. It's okay to get it.
The small things in life can make a huge difference. Thank you, Respite Care.
Every 65 seconds, someone is affected with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Many become isolated at a time when help is most needed. If you or someone you love is affected, help is available, both for people with memory loss and their caregivers. Memory loss can feel frightening, but you are not alone. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we're talking with Bryce Katz. He's from the Montana Department of Revenue. He's the Bureau Chief for the Property Assessment Division. And we are talking about some of the changes that have been made for the year 2026. So, Bryce, let's get down to Property Tax Assistance Program. I know there are several programs in that light. In particular, there are two programs that I want us to address: the Property Tax Assistance and the Montana Disabled Veteran Program. Take your pick and let's discuss.
Sure. So these have been existing programs that have been around for a number of years, but they have similar eligibility requirements to what we just talked about with the homestead for a principal residence, but we'll start with the Property Tax Assistance Program.
Okay.
So it provides property tax relief to lower income individuals. So to be eligible to receive Property Tax Assistance Program and get enrolled, similar to what we just talked about, you need to own that property either in your individual name or a grant or revocable trust. You have to reside in that property for at least 7 months of the year as your principal residence, and then you have to meet some income requirements. And so for the 2026 tax year for property tax assistance, if you're a single filer, and it's your federal adjusted gross income excluding any losses is what the eligibility for income is.
Break that down, please, because now the audience will be wondering, what is federal gross?
So that's the starting point. So if you file a federal tax return, you calculate what your federal adjusted gross income is.
Okay.
And then the only difference is we have to add in any losses you might have claimed that reduce that federal adjusted gross income backed in. So that's the income that is the determining factor as to whether you qualify for property tax assistance. And then for a single filer for that year, the maximum income you can have is $29,037. Or if you file married or head of household, the maximum income is $38,917. Again, that's federal adjusted gross income excluding losses.
Okay.
So as an example, depending on what your income makeup is, like a lot of times people's Social Security isn't taxable or isn't fully taxable. So that doesn't always count fully towards your federal adjusted gross income.
Okay.
So if you were solely on Social Security benefits, you would typically not have a federal adjusted gross income.
Right.
So it'd be eligible for the program.
Most likely you'll be eligible for the program. Okay.
Yes. So again, for a single filer for 2026, your federal adjusted gross income had to be $29,037 or less. And if you're a married or head of household filer, that income is $38,917 or less. And then there's 3 tiers of relief that you qualify based on where your income falls in that range. You can either get an 80% reduction in the tax rate, a 50% reduction, or a 30% reduction. And that's only on the first $418,000 of your property's value. So there is a limit on how much relief it applies to property value-wise.
So how active is this program?
I think we have around 24,000 people enrolled in property tax assistance currently.
That's good. So let's address the Montana Disabled Veteran Program.
Sure. There's also the Montana Disabled Veterans Program, or what we call the MDV program. Very similar to the property tax assistance as far as eligibility. You have to own that property in your individual name or in a grantor revocable trust. You have to reside in that property for at least 7 months of the year as your principal residence. The additional requirement for this is you have to be rated 100% disabled from the VA or paid at the 100% rate to be eligible. And then there's some income requirements as well. So if you, again, meet those first 3, and if you're a single filer and your income is $62,598 or less, you would be eligible. If you file married or head of household and your income is $72,229 or less, you would be eligible. And then the other interesting thing with this program is if you're a surviving spouse, you can qualify as well. If your spouse was 100% disabled, paid at 100% rate, or died because of a service-related disability, and that income threshold is $54,573.
So you're saying, and I'm just giving an example because I like people to understand this.
Sure.
So if you're 100% disabled veteran and you make $80,000 income, you don't qualify.
Correct. If your federal adjusted gross income was $80,000, you wouldn't qualify. So you have to meet those income thresholds as well.
Okay, let's get down to the application process, because I know there's a process to follow in order to get these benefits.
Yes, there is. So very similar, you can go to our website to find that application. You can apply electronically online or via paper, and the application deadline for this program is April 15th.
April 15th.
For both Property Tax Assistance Program and the Montana Disabled Veterans Program. You'd have to apply by April 15th to be eligible to receive that reduction for this year.
So besides the limitation you just provided, are there any other limitations we need to look up for? Limitation in terms of federal gross income?
Nope, it's, again, there's no age requirement or anything like that. You just have to own the property, you have to reside in it as your principal residence for at least 7 months, and then fall within the income brackets to be eligible.
This is awesome, Bryce. Thank you so much. I know you got more information for us. We need to stay tuned because Bryce will be coming back with more information for us. We're talking about elderly homeowners, rent tax credit. There's so much more information that he will be providing. So I want you to get your coffee and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
When I found out it was diabetes, my first thought was, Barb, you need help. You have to take control of this. There is help. My doctor gave me a phone number. I called and signed up with a diabetes educator. There is help. I have to put blinders on when I walk past the bakery counter. I can feel my blood sugar go up. You succeed a little at a time. If you have diabetes, help is available. You do not have to do it alone.
Ask your doctor about diabetes education or visit montana211.org.
Hey, caregivers, did you know that respite time is your time? How will you spend it?
20-year-old twins with special needs takes a lot of wrangling. So sometimes a trip to the grocery store without having to worry about the boys can feel like a mini vacation.
Tori Allard, Billings.
We also own a DJ company, and there's always something going on there that needs attention.
Montana Lifespan Respite. Respite for caregivers. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. It's okay to get it.
The small things in life can make a huge difference. Thank you, Respite Care.
Every 65 seconds, someone is affected with Alzheimer's or other dementias. Many become isolated at a time when help is most needed. If you or someone you love is affected, help is available, both for people with memory loss and their caregivers. Memory loss can feel frightening, but you are not alone. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
Welcome back. We're talking to Bryce Katz of the Montana Department of Revenue. He's the Bureau Chief for Property Tax Assessment. Bryce, thanks for gracing us with your presence. Now let's look at, I was telling the audience, we'll talk about elderly homeowners and renter tax credit. Talk to us about it, please.
Sure, there's one other program that kind of provides some relief for property taxes as well, and it's the elderly homeowner renter tax credit. So again, for this one, you have to be at least 62 years or older. You have to have lived in Montana for 9 months and then owned, rented, or leased a house or property for at least 6 months of the year.
Okay.
If you meet, and then your total household income has to be $45,000 or less. So that's the combined income of everyone that's residing in that household with you. So yourself, and if anyone else resides in that household with you, your income has to be $45,000 or less. If you meet those eligibility requirements, then you could possibly receive a credit on your income tax return of up to $1,150. And it's based on a formula that's determined based on how much you paid in property taxes and how much you paid in rent, and then where your total household income falls. So based on that, it's kind of a sliding scale and determines how much of that credit you're eligible for, up to $1,150.
Wow. Okay, so we need to find, where do we get all this information?
Yeah, so there's a couple options. The best one, if you're a little tech savvy, is to just go to our website, which is revenue.mt.gov. Or you can go to homestead.mt.gov if you're just interested in those changes for 2026. You can also call our call center. They're full of great information and can answer a lot of questions, and that number is 444-6900.
So what's the hours for the call center?
So our call center is 9 to 4, Monday through Thursday, and then not available on Friday.
Okay, so let's recap. We'll talk about there have been some changes made by the legislature in 2025 for the years 2026. Some of those property tax changes. Let's just recap so my audience know what they are.
Yeah, so that was the biggest change. Everything else has been pre-existing, but those changes they made for 2026, implementing the homestead reduced rates for principal residents and the reduced rates for long-term rental properties, are new for 2026. And again, for a principal residence reduced rate, you need to own that property in your individual name or a grant or revocable trust. You need to reside in it as your principal residence for at least 7 months, and you have to be current on your property taxes. Again, if you claimed the rebate and still own that property and reside in it as your principal residence, you were auto-enrolled. The quickest, easiest way is if you go to that homestead.mt.gov, there's a tool on there. You can go and verify or check if your property has been enrolled or not. And if it hasn't, you can find the application form on our website at that same location.
So there have been 2 rebates. What if you received the first rebate and didn't receive the second rebate? Are you still auto-enrolled?
No, you had to have claimed the rebate this past year.
Gotcha.
To get auto-enrolled. So if you claimed the rebates from a couple years ago, that does not auto-enroll you. You had to have claimed the most current rebate this past
So what's
year.
the timeline?
So again, if you need to apply, the enrollment period began December 1st and it goes through March 1st. So you have until March 1st to submit your application to get your property enrolled.
Okay, let's quickly wrap up Property Tax Assistance Program.
So yeah, both the Property Tax Assistance, Montana Disabled Veterans, very similar. Own the property, reside in it for at least 7 months of the year, but then you have to meet those income thresholds as well, which for property tax assistance, $29,037 or less in federal adjusted gross income excluding losses for a single filer, $38,917 or less for a married or head of household filer. Then for the Montana Disabled Veterans Program, same thing, own it, reside in it for at least 7 months. But then you also have to be rated 100% disabled or paid at the 100% rate from the VA or be a surviving spouse. Those income thresholds for a single filer, $62,598 or less. For a married head of household filer, $72,229 or less. And for a surviving spouse, $54,573 or less.
And those are combined income?
Yes, if you're a married filer, it would be both the income of you and your spouse.
What's the timeline on that one?
That one, you have a little additional time. You have until April 15th to apply for the Property Tax Assistance Program or Montana Disabled Veterans Program.
Okay. Now, elderly homeowners, renter tax credit.
Yeah, so that's you file through your income taxes. So you have until April 15th to file your income taxes unless you file an extension. The one nice thing about that elderly homeowner renter credit, if you were eligible to claim it in the last 3 years and didn't know about it or didn't claim it for whatever reason, you can actually go back and file an amended tax return for those years and claim that credit. So if, up to 3 years back, you can actually go and claim that homeowner elderly homeowner renter's tax credit if you were eligible.
Okay, so last information. Where can the audience find all this beautiful information?
Again, go to our website. Revenue.mt.gov is our main website where you can find information on all different tax types. If you're just interested in the changes for this year, that's homestead.mt.gov will take you directly to the information related to that. And then if you have questions, need help, our call center is a great resource. And again, that number is 406-444-6900.
And open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4.
Correct. That for our call center.
Bryce, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us today. This has been Aging Horizons, and I'm your host, Wilmot Collins, signing off.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.